Welcome to House Talk on KAFM 88.1 Community Affairs, a monthly program that features local experts to discuss real estate topics of interest to home buyers and sellers in Mesa County. We're your hosts. I'm Janice Burtis, a realtor at RE/MAX 4000.
And I'm Kate Porras. I'm also a realtor at RE/MAX 4000. Janice, we're still waiting for the official numbers for statistics for Mesa County to come in for the month of November. But
probably because they couldn't count all the sales and they could count the inventory.
I have a feeling it's going to be the same song we've been singing for a while now with the low inventory. Our prices are still, our average price is still well over $300,000. So, just the lack of inventory is really driving those prices up and making it a little bit challenging for buyers out there.
And Kate, all our buyers, we're seeing a ton of buyers coming from lots of other states.
Yeah.
Particularly California. I have a referring agent out in California who is doing a program called Eyes West to 11 different states. And so he is helping his clients in California leave California.
And guess where they're coming? Because I've been seeing it as well. And it's interesting. I listened to the Brian Buffini show. He's a he's a nationwide real estate expert guru. And he was talking about his predictions coming up for 2021. And they're talking about people are fleeing the big metro areas and the rural areas. And they're looking for, places where they can live, where they have the lifestyle a little more relaxed, fewer people, less expensive to live in.
Well, one of the things that the COVID did for the nation was prove that they don't have to have bricks and mortar to work. Yeah. So they're going to work from their home. So now we're seeing, instead of people moving into a smaller home,
right,
they're moving into a little bit bigger home that has office space and a school to teach your children at home.
And even, before people were trying to move so they didn't have the big long commutes, that was a big important thing for people, is not to have to commute to work. But now with being able to work mobily, people are moving 2 hours away from their office, figuring that, hey, I only have to go in maybe once, maybe twice a week. That commute's not so bad if you're only doing it a few times a week.
And I believe the statistic on that, Kate, is 52% of those people who are moving away from their work are saying, hey, I'm going to take the longer commute and moving more than that 2 hours away and looking for quality of life.
Right.
That's what we've got here in the Grand Valley.
Guess what we have here in Mesa County? Good quality of life.
It makes it really nice.
And we are seeing that move of people from out of state coming here. So.
And even though we're in the Christmas or holiday season, I prefer to call it Christmas season, we are seeing the market still be really active with those buyers coming here. We
just need houses for them to buy.
We do. So since we're talking about Christmas and lighting, our guest with us today is Paul Hughes from Claus Lighting on the line. Paul's going to talk to us about the holiday lighting. Welcome, Paul.
How's it going? Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
You bet.
Paul, what I've noticed this year, and maybe you have too, let me know, the amount of Christmas decorations that have been up for a while now really seems to be increasing this year.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot from the previous years. This is just the year that people are wanting those lights, and to try to end 2020 with some positivity, just with everything going on. And I think that's definitely sparked just this valley of lighting up.
I love it.
Well, I know I got started October 15th. I hate to tell on myself, but I put Christmas lights up on October 15th. Thank you, Paul. And Paul, are you seeing a lot of people put lights up early this year?
I saw it. Even there was an install in September that I saw, and it's just like, I think people they were ready for something, and I think that just gave them that light or that hope. And I thought maybe the weather definitely played a big factor in it as well. But it goes on to, I see that with the weather being so nice, that's just the safest time to put those lights up. And, and it doesn't mean you have to turn them on. You can turn them on when you want, but just having them up at a safe time is just definitely key.
You're listening to House Talk on KAFM Grand Junction. On the line today, we have Paul Hughes with Claus Lighting. So I know a lot of people might be on a little bit of a tight budget this year with everything that's been going on. Do you have any suggestions for those folks who still want to have some decorations but maybe don't have a lot of money that they can spend?
I think one strategy is just to kind of watch the big box stores and see if if the sales go on, and I would definitely stick to the LED lighting because those LED lights will they're more energy efficient, and so not only are you going to save money on your electric bill, but when those sales come on, it's just an easy way to add light to your house.
Paul, would you talk a little bit about these new LED lights and the old lights and the hazards, the good, the bads? What are you seeing with these new lights?
The new lights are just so much safer. The LEDs, they use much less energy than the incandescents, and then they're safer because the old incandescents, they can be warm or even hot to the touch, and that's definitely a factor when it comes to kids and babies even crawling around. But when you get to an LED, it's going to be cool to the touch. It's going to draw so much less power. I mean, I think back to when I was a kid and I was putting in my parents, lighting up my parents' Christmas tree, and I kept blowing a fuse. Yeah. And it's just there was so much watts that that was the issue. Now, when you mess with LEDs, you can put so many more strands on a tree, and it saves you money. So it's a win-win.
It seems like they're more durable too. I like you, Paul. We've had headaches in Christmas past, where it just feels like the old ones broke easily or whatnot. They're always finding ways to go out, and so we've really switched everything over to LED, and we've loved it so far.
Hey, Paul, do you see?
For sure.
Go ahead, Paul.
Go ahead.
Do you see?
I was going to say, those incandescents, they're with the glass bulb, and just moving away from that glass bulb was so key.
Do you see a problem with really old lighting and a huge fire hazard? Are we still experiencing some of that?
When I hear stories about this, at my own house, I've transitioned completely away from the incandescents and the glass bulbs. And when you're decorating, say, a tree or something that could catch fire, an old roof, I think just if it's not secured, if it's not properly installed, and you have so many bulbs on a socket, I think you can definitely, turn into a fire hazard. It really kind of depends on how you install those lights and if there's any wires that are exposed. And the problem with the old strands is because the weather elements, that sun could have easily eaten into that wire, and you may not even know it. Then all of a sudden you're plugging it in and you're having shorts and definitely issues. And then the rain comes in. So yeah, you're definitely running into problems as you're trying to, keep those old colors, keep those old lights as long as you can. I get it. But I think this is just kind of the time to transition into a safer, more efficient bulb.
You're listening to House Talk on KAFM Grand Junction. In the studio today, we have Paul Hughes with Claus Lighting. Hey, Paul, are you seeing more of a white look or a colorful look with all the lights that are happening this year?
I see everything. And it's kind of back to the opinion of I'm a warm white. I'm a warm white guy, but I always go into to neighborhoods and see lots of color, and I think color is fun, and the white is more classy. Again, it's an opinion, but I always tell people, whatever, don't let someone talk you into a certain color, just what you believe, what you feel is right. Kids love the color, so I always recommend if families they have the kids and they want the color, make the kids happy. You could definitely go either way, but there's the cool thing about lights these days is you can pick different colors. You can stick to multicolor or just white. You could go reds and greens. You could do candy cane. You can just mix and match and make it really fun and make it more enjoyable for the people that do like lights.
We found something fun this year when we decided to get some new lights for our house, and they're LED lights, and they have a switch on them where you can choose either colored or warm white. So this year we did colored. We left the colored lights up. But next year, if we want warm white, we can just flip the switch on them, and you only have one set that you have to buy. And it was great. It was a good find.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah, right on.
How do you store lights when it comes to the end of the season? What's the best way to store these lights?
Definitely, some tips that I tell people when you're storing lights is definitely first make a little diagram, and that could be a sketch of your house, and just so the next year that when you put them up, it can save you so much more time. But I like to store them in a secured tote. I have this method that I use so when I go to untangle my lights, that it's not just a giant ball that you've seen on movies with Clark Griswold.
You mean like what's in my garage? Is that what you're talking about?
and that stuff definitely happens. But yeah, and I also, finding a spot that's not going to be getting direct sunlight, so it could be a shed or some kind of storage spot. Air-conditioned spot, of course, is definitely more recommended, but that can't always happen. But get those. I would take those off the roof, mainly because that warm sun, that sun that we get so many days of the year, is beating on that wire. And I've seen those clips when I'll go to do an install. Those clips sometimes just disintegrate the second that you touch them if those clips have been up there for 1 to 2 years.
And that's kind of the age-old question. When do we need to start taking our lights down? Can we leave them up all year?
I ran into many people that believe they know the answer to this, and I always say whatever you feel is in your heart when you should take them down, but you're also respecting your neighbors. I always recommend sometime after Christmas. But some people do like to leave them up all year round, and if that's what they like to do, that's on them. But I think you're going to definitely get those lights are going to last so much longer if you take them down after sometime after Christmas. They're rated for 90 days in the weather, and the elements that affect those bulbs, I wouldn't go too much further than 3 months.
Well, I know I have an HOA that usually says you're not supposed to put them up till December 7th, and they have to be down by January 15th, but I haven't gotten a notice yet.
I think everybody's been sympathetic to 2020, and we just, some good holiday cheer is well needed right now.
Yes, definitely. And even with those HOAs, I think there's some HOAs that have different restrictions. But the big thing is when it comes to takedown, if there's restrictions that say they have to be down January 15th, I think the thing to look at is if we get a huge storm in, I feel like you got to think safety first. And if it's just not safe to take them down, doesn't mean you don't have to light them up. It's just don't take them down when you're worried about getting on an icy roof or that ladder's not stable. I think safety comes first all the time.
And that's great advice to conclude our show. Hey, Paul, if our listeners have more questions, how can they get a hold of you?
You can check out our Facebook page at Claus Lighting. Research, or I guess you just look for Claus Lighting LLC, and we should pop up. You can give me a call at 986-9140, and I can gladly help you guys out.
Paul, thanks so much for joining us today, and I'm glad to know that everybody's out spreading that holiday cheer, because like we said, this is 2020. We could use all the smiles and feel goods that we can get right now.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Paul. This segment airs on the second Wednesday of each month. You can also listen to podcasts on demand at KAFMradio.org. And make sure to join us next month for another edition of House Talk. If you have a topic that you want us to discuss, make sure you let us know. You can reach me by visiting my website, kateporras.com.
And you can reach Janice Burtis at janiceburtis.com. Have a great day.